Hi everyone, Shannon here from frugalbeautiful.com, and today we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to save money or pay down their debts. So today we're going to launch right into it. The first mistake I see people making time and time again is, quite frankly, number one, the rent is too damn high. Yeah, and I'm not just talking about rent. I'm talking about any recurring living expenses that can help you save big over time. Now, I see time and time again, people fixate on really small savings. So they get a coupon and they save $1.50 on toothpaste, or maybe they think they've won real big and they saved $100 on their tires. Well, how often do you buy tires and how often do you buy toothpaste? Chances are not that much. And even though it is great to save money in one-time purchases, the biggest ways you will save are on your recurring living expenses. So if you can find any way to get your housing costs down, your food costs down, your transportation or your medical expenses down on a recurring way, even if it's kind of small at first, you're only saving $25 a month, $25 a month over 12 months adds up really fast. Or if you can get your rent, which I think is the biggest way you can save, down, you're going to save even more money. Now, when I was in graduate school, I lived with two roommates in a not so glamorous apartment in Chicago. We had no dishwasher, I didn't have a door, all this stuff. You've heard me talk about it on the blog. But my rent was about $330 a month plus utilities. Now, my other graduate students who were in the same cohort were telling me that they were spending $500 or $600 more a month on rent, even if they had a roommate. Well, $500 to $600 a month is reasonable for rent in Chicago, especially if they were paying like $800 or $1,000. That's pretty much the going rate here in Chicago. But I found a rock bottom price and I lived there for 3 years, and yeah, it wasn't very fun. But I can say years later I thank myself for it because I was able to repay my student loans and I didn't have to take out much money for living expenses. That being said, if there's any way that you can get a roommate or use Airbnb or find ways to cut your expenses on a recurring basis for your living expenses, I can see that being one of the quickest wins for you. Of course, you can fixate if you want on saving $1.50 on toothpaste or figuring out ways to like reuse your kale 4 or 5 times after you've made them into a smoothie. I don't know, you can get creative. But the biggest wins will be with your living expenses if you can do it. If you're living in a place that has a mortgage, so you can't necessarily downsize or move to another place, find ways to monetize your living space or see if you can refinance or find ways to cut your expenses in the place you're living so you get that benefit of a recurring savings each month, which adds up over time. Give it a try, you might like it. Now, the second thing I see people doing is, quite frankly, you're bleeding out each month because you're spending too much and you have too much stuff. You just have too much stuff. I don't know how to say this any other nice way. If you aren't able to make your savings goals or you're in debt, look around you, you may have way too much junk. It costs a lot to upkeep all the stuff you have in your house or the stuff you have parked out in the street or the stuff you have in a storage unit. But even if you don't do that, I have seen the common denominator with successful bloggers that are paying down their debts or saving big is that they quite frankly have to downsize. They sell off their stuff, they give it away, and they just get rid of the clutter in their life because quite frankly, the stuff in your life is like a bottomless pit. The more you have, the more you want, and you start to see lifestyle inflation creep up time and time again. You get more, you want more, you get more, you want more, and you never really fill that bottomless pit of wanting stuff. It may be a sweater from J. Crew this month, but it's going to be a new pair of Sperry's next month. It will never ever satisfy you. So maybe just hit a restart on your life, sell off some stuff, do what you gotta do, and simply live simply so you can simply live. I hope I said that right. Anyway, decluttering and giving away your stuff to start fresh is something I've seen successful personal finance and debt bloggers do time and time again, and it could work for you. My final tip, and one of my favorite ones that I live so personally, is to treat your savings like a bill. Yeah, treat your savings like a bill. Now, if you pay everybody else first and you pay yourself last, you may find that at the end of the month you never have money left over to put towards your savings or to pay off your debt. So you have to treat your savings like a bill. And I've talked about this before in my previous video where I was talking about how I saved $20,000 in a year. Every time I got paid, twice a month or once a month, I took a portion of my paycheck out of my checkings account and moved it over to my savings account, and I treated it like a bill. I was like my own tough landlady that if I didn't pay myself, heads went a-knockin', you know, I had to pay myself first. Now, of course, there were months where I had medical bills that were higher than expected, or an unexpected trip, or something happened, I got invited to a wedding and I didn't plan ahead for it, and I would have to pull out of those savings, but still, most of the time, 70% of the time, I treated my savings like a bill, not an afterthought. And if you want to save more, you honestly have to treat it like a priority. Sometimes it's not pretty, sometimes it's gritty, but you gotta do it. Anywho, those are the 3 biggest mistakes I see people making time and time again when they're trying to save more or pay down their debts, and I hope it was helpful for you. And if you have any advice for anyone else who's trying to save more or pay down debts, please leave them in the comment section below. We absolutely would love to hear from you. Anywho, thanks again for tuning into this video, and I hope you'll join us back at frugalbeautiful.com for your next video. Have a good week, guys. Thanks.